Right, and 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Teach Together Try Again. We're going to do a bit of revision today, just with some 3D objects. Let's have a look at a few. Let's start off with one of my personal favourites. And 3, 2, 1. Right, here we go. I wonder if you know what this is called. Okay, this is of course called a cube. It is called a cube, and I think it actually comes from the Greek word kybos, I think kybos, which meant a dice or a six-sided shape. Okay, but we just call it a cube, and of course, yes, it does in fact have six sides, six faces rather. We call it six faces. It's just like a dice, isn't it? Just like a dice you might use to play a game. Right? That's what we call a cube. Let's have a look at another shape here. Do you know what this is called? Rhymes with here. Yes, it's called a sphere. It's called a sphere. And originally, actually, people thought that the sphere was in heaven, and actually the Earth existed within a little sphere just here. That's a little funny thing for you to think about. That's where we got the word sphere from, the spheres of heaven. But these days we don't remember that. What we think about is that a sphere is just like a ball, isn't it? It's just like a ball. Okay, and of course it's a real ball. It's not a circle, it's an actual ball itself, but we call it a sphere. Perfectly round, isn't it? Just like a soccer ball or a cricket ball or any other type of ball. A sphere. Let's have a look at another shape. This is what we would call a pyramid, but what sort of pyramid is it? Have a look at the base. Pyramid, that's how you spell it. Have a look at the base in order to tell. What's the base of this pyramid? Can you see this? The base is a triangle, so we'd actually call this a triangular pyramid. Triangular pyramid. Okay, quite important. The term pyramid, I think, comes from the term pyra, which literally means the pyramid, the obelisk. And when we talk about the obelisks, we're talking about a big, tall shape, and we often talk about the obelisks or the pyramids of Egypt. And I'm sure you've seen the pyramids of Egypt. If you haven't, please do check them out. We just call them pyramids, and of course, this case, it's a triangular pyramid. A cone. This is what we would call a cone, Year 5. We call this a cone. It's just like an ice cream cone, isn't it? It's got, it's curved around its side, isn't it? It's got a point here and a flat shape here, a flat circular base. I'm not sure if you can quite see that. It actually comes from the Latin word conus. The Latin word conus, which means the peak of a helmet. So imagine someone's wearing a funny helmet, and this was on top of the helmet. And I'm sure you've seen helmets with cones on them. Alright, so that shape, a bit like an ice cream cone, isn't it? Ice cream. Okay, that's what we call a cone. This is called a cylinder. Right, this shape is called a cylinder, and it's a bit like something you might use to flatten a pancake or flatten some bread, isn't it? You've got a circle up the top here. Of course, you've got a circle down the bottom as well. You can't see it; it's hidden, and it's joined by just some straight lines there. Of course, it's a 3D shape, so it actually goes around and exists, doesn't it? Okay, now we call that a cylinder. I believe cylinder is a word that literally means roller. That literally means roller. So you can understand just how cylinders roll. Okay. Right, here we have what we call a prism. This is a prism, and a prism actually has a distinct meaning. And I'll just tell you what that is. It's fascinating, actually. It comes from the Greek word prisma. The Greek word prisma, which, do you know what that means? Maybe you could look it up, what prisma means. It literally means sword through. Sword through. It's almost as though someone has gotten a saw and just sawed straight down here, isn't it? In a way. It's just a neat slice straight down the middle of this object. Now, the question is what type of a prism it is, and there's many different types of prisms. This prism, you can see, has a face of a triangle that joins to another face of a triangle. Okay, there it is. Right. So we would call that a triangular prism. A triangular prism. Okay, but there's different types of prisms as well. I might just have a go at drawing one for you now. Just please forgive me while I pause you. And here you go. You can see I've drawn two pentagonal faces. So if you actually join these pentagonal faces up with some straight lines, right, and we'll do this one in dots because it's meant to be behind, okay, then what of course we have here is what is called a pentagonal prism, right? Now, you can have many different types of prisms, but the name of the prism is defined by its face, the bit that is sawed through. Now, this of course has a pentagon at the front, doesn't it? And it's got a pentagon at the back, so we'd call that a pentagonal prism. Pentagonal prism. Okay? Something to remember. There's all sorts. There's rectangular prisms, there's octagonal prisms, there's septagonal prisms. There are all sorts. It all depends on what shape the face is, right? And what shape the other face is, which bit has been sawed through. Right, well, here we have not a prism, but it's another type of, can you tell me? Well, it is a type of prism, isn't it? It's a solid object. But to be more specific, we call this a pyramid. A pyramid, but what type of pyramid is it? It's got a base. You look at the base. So what type of pyramid is it? Okay, it's like the pyramids of Egypt. We call it a square pyramid. Okay? Because it's a pyramid, yeah, sure, it's like those buildings in Egypt, but it's got a square base, so it's distinct from the other one that we looked at before. It's different. It's not a triangular, it's a square pyramid. Last but not least, we have another type of prism here. It's just another type of prism. But what type of prism is it? Well, what are the faces that are joined by the straight lines? What are the faces that are joined by the straight lines? What is the bit that has been sawed through? Because that's what prisma means, isn't it? Okay, we looked at that before. What does prisma mean? It means sawed through. So which bit has been sawed through here? Well, it's been nicely sawed through there, hasn't it? Okay, so I might just get rid of that. See, this face is joined to that face. And what shape is these? Are those? Thank you. What shape are those? You can tell me, because it's that type of prism. I hope you worked out that it was a rectangular prism. A rectangular prism. Alright, these are some 3D objects that you will need to know about in your maths this year. So, if you don't know them, do learn them. Thank you very much.